Welcome back to Georgia State University's Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning Video Production Bootcamp module. In the previous video, you learned about the pre-production process and how to prepare yourself for shooting your production. Now, it's time to shoot your video. Videography. Know your equipment. There are two ways to shoot video with most cameras, auto and manual. When shooting with your camera's automatic settings, the camera will try to give you the best quality shot by making automatic adjustments based on the lighting of the scene you are shooting. If you can provide an adequately lit set, most modern cameras can give you a very high quality shot without requiring any camera setting adjustments. But when you learn to use your camera's manual settings, you can make adjustments that will allow you to manipulate your scene's focus, color, contrasts, and depth of field to give your video a more stylized and professional look. Learn more about your camera's manual settings here. Planning the look. The look, style, or aesthetic of your video will establish its tone. The style is also an important element of establishing the voice of the video maker. Slight changes in your camera work, lighting, color, or location can have a drastic effect on the way your video is read or experienced. Let's look at some of the production choices that help to establish a video style. Camera movement. Using a handheld camera will give your video a kinetic energy that is harder to establish with a static camera. The movement of the handheld camera can also establish the presence, perspective, or voice of the video maker. That kinetic perspective can also create a more immersive experience for the audience. However, the shakier the camera gets, the more that presence is felt. So don't go overboard and make the audience nauseous. If possible, use a camera stabilizer to give the camera smoother movement. A static camera on a tripod can create a more precise, focused, or grounded look that will allow for more specific, intentioned camera movement. It is best to use a static camera when shooting interviews. Lighting. Another important stylistic choice in the development of the aesthetic of your video is the lighting. The choice between shooting in controllable locations with refined lighting setups and shooting in less controllable locations using natural or practical lights will be an important choice in the final aesthetic of your video. Consider how your choice will affect your video's tone. We'll talk more about lighting later. The shot. The shot is the language of video making. Each type of shot conveys a different meaning and has a different effect on the viewer. A shot is defined by how you choose to position your subject within the frame, or how you frame the subject. Let's take a look at some standard video shots. The establishing shot is a very wide shot that establishes a location for the viewer. A wide shot shows your subject from head to toe. The wide shot works best to focus on the subject's movement, or to display the subject's position within a space and interaction with the people and/or space around them. A medium shot frames your subject from the waist up. The medium shot allows for more detail and greater emphasis on your subject's facial expression. A close-up shot is more intimate. It generally frames only the subject's face. The close-up shot further focuses the viewer and emphasizes your subject's emotional state. Your shot choices determine the information you provide your audience and therefore dictate the story you are telling. The shot is the language of the video. Making intentional and diverse shot choices will help you work towards a video that is more immersive, informative, and compelling, and therefore more successful. Camera positions. There are a few essential camera rules to follow in order to ensure that your video footage is coherent and does not confuse or distract your audience. The 180-degree rule. Imagine there is a line running between two subjects. The camera must always stay on one side of that line to avoid a disjointed and confusing scene. Breaking the line, or crossing it, will result in a video that makes it appear as if your subject is coming and then going, on the left and then the right, confusing the viewer. The rule of thirds. Another important guideline to follow is the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds essentially divides the frame into thirds. Placing your subject on the line of the intersections of the thirds creates the most balanced shot. Learn more about these rules here. Camera angles. As you are shooting your video, the height of the camera in relation to the subject has a substantial effect on the viewer's perception of the subject. In an eye-level shot, the camera is level with your subject's eyes. The shot essentially mimics the subject's point of view and allows the viewer an unbiased perspective of the subject. In low-angle shot, the camera is placed lower than the subject's eye level to look up to the subject. This angle gives a sense of power and importance to your subject. It can be an intimidating shot. Inversely, in a high-angle shot, the camera is placed higher than eye level so that the viewer looks down on the subject. This angle minimizes your subject and presents the perception of a subject that is insecure or vulnerable. The over-the-shoulder shot is used to draw a connection between two subjects interacting. This shot allows the audience one of the subject's perspectives while establishing a closeness and connection between the two subjects. Pro tip: the over-the-shoulder shot should only be used in an interview when the interviewer is an essential part of the conversation and their voice is heard. Generally, in documentaries, the video maker's voice is silent and only presents itself through the content presented, the choice of shots, and the edit of the video. Shooting B-roll. You don't want your video to be all talking heads. The extra footage you edit over your interviews is called B-roll. B-roll adds diversity and context to an interview's A-roll. It can be used to further illustrate an idea and to cover cuts in post-production. While the interviewee is telling the story, your B-roll will help to show and contextualize the story. Shooting a scene. When shooting B-roll or any other scene for your film, you want to shoot enough footage that will enable you to edit a coherent scene in post-production. This is called shooting coverage. When shooting coverage, you want to remember 4 things: establish the space, shoot wide, shoot close-ups, and shoot cutaways. The establishment shots introduce the audience to the location in which the scene is taking place. When you shoot wide, you are placing your subject in the scene. You are providing a relationship between your subject and the location. Furthermore, their location within the frame highlights their role in that setting. Your wide shot can sometimes work as an establishing shot. Shooting close-up will bring the viewer's focus closer to your subject or allow the viewer to focus on a small, specific thing in a location. Finally, you should shoot cutaways. Cutaways are medium or close-up shots of objects or actions that can be used to break up a scene. A cutaway might be a shot of something a subject looks at or references in conversation. Lighting. Now that you've explored the language of the camera, let's talk about setting a tone with lighting. There are infinite ways to light a shot. Sometimes you'll have access to a great lighting kit. Sometimes you'll have to work with the light in the location you happen to be shooting. In most documentary productions, your lighting goal is to shape the existing light of a location to allow the camera to honestly represent the reality of a situation. However, subtle lighting distinctions can help develop a tone without being overly distractingly stylized. 3-point lighting. The standard lighting setup for shooting a single subject, such as in an interview, is the 3-point lighting method. This method provides attractive, balanced lighting while separating the subject from the background. The 3 lights in 3-point lighting are the key, the fill, and the backlight. Your primary light source is the key light. The key light is placed to the prominent side of the subject's face. It is positioned about 45 degrees from the camera, pointing down on the subject at about a 45-degree angle. The fill light is positioned on the other side of the subject at the opposite 45-degree angle and also shoots slightly down on the subject. The fill light fills out the shadows on the other side of your subject's face. Finally, a backlight or hair light is placed behind the subject, usually at a high angle and off to one side to keep it out of the shot. The backlight creates an outline on the subject's hair and shoulders, which helps them to stand out from the background. Shooting your lights through diffusion will help provide a softer, more appealing, beautiful light for your subject. If you don't have diffusion gels, you can try shooting the light through wax paper, a lampshade, or thin white fabric. Natural light. The sun is your natural light source and can be manipulated and timed to suit the needs of your video. Shoot exteriors as close to the magic hour as possible. Shooting exteriors in the morning and evenings will provide a nice soft light as the sun diffuses through the atmosphere. Shooting at midday will provide harsh overhead light with very hard shadows. If you must shoot at midday, try to shoot in the shade. If you are shooting indoors and using windows as your light source, make sure that you position your subject to utilize a window as a key light. Never shoot with the subject in front of the window. Audio. Good audio is more important than good visuals in video. Someone will watch a video with less than perfect image quality that sounds decent, but they will rarely sit through a video that sounds awful, regardless of how it looks. In order to capture a good audio, you'll probably want to use something other than the in-camera mic or the mic on your iPhone. You'll need a higher quality lavalier or boom mic. Remember, you have great equipment at your disposal through the GSU Cat Lab. Check out the audio section of the module for more information on capturing great audio. Constructing an interview. The most important and essential part of your narrative is most likely your interviews. In the previous video, we gave tips on conducting interviews that would help you to get the most compelling and informative answers for your story. Now let's discuss capturing the image. Most people are not very comfortable with a camera in their face, so give your subject room and position the camera as far away as possible. This will allow your interviewee to feel less intimidated by the camera in the room. The interviewee should sit as far as possible from the background. This will allow the background to fall out of focus in order to create a separation between the subject and the background. During the interview, your subject should speak to your interviewer, not the camera. To help this, the interviewer should sit as close to the camera as possible so that the subject is looking just off camera. Directing. The most important camera direction will happen in your storyboards in pre-production. Before you begin shooting your video, discuss the full plan with your videographer and show them films and videos that have inspired you. Documentary is a fluid form, and you're bound to run into many answers, experiences, and events along the way that you did not plan for. Understanding your subject will ensure that you are prepared enough to react and take advantage of the surprises. Finally, video shoots can be extensive and exhausting, so check in with everyone on set regularly to make sure that everyone is doing okay. So, that is the basics of video production. Remember to refer to the module for a deeper dive on any of the topics we've discussed here. Happy shooting!